I'm fine. Nathan Reed knew the sentence was not true before it even left his mouth. He knew it because his ribs felt as if someone had driven a metal rod through them and left it there. He knew it because every breath came shallow and hot. He knew it because rainwater was still dripping from his hair onto the emergency room sheet, mixing with something darker near his collarbone, and because the nurse leaning over him had asked a simple question. Can you breathe? Are you in serious pain? Yes, Nathan should have said. Yes, I am in serious pain. Yes, something is wrong. But across the trauma bay, under the white hospital lights, Claire was moving between patients with someone else's blood on her sleeve and a chart tucked under her arm. His wife. His almost not wife. The woman who had told him 3 nights ago, with devastating calm, that she cared about him but did not love him as her husband anymore. She had not seen him yet. Or maybe she had seen only another injured body in a room full of them. So Nathan did what he had done for most of his adult life. He made himself smaller at the exact moment someone needed him to be honest. I'm fine, he whispered. The nurse nodded. All right, she said and turned to the next patient. Nathan stared after her. For one impossible second, the pain disappeared beneath something colder. She believed him. Not politely. Not skeptically. Not in the way busy people sometimes accepted a bad answer because there were too many emergencies and not enough hands. She believed him completely, naturally, as if his sentence had carried reality inside it. But it had not. The sentence was wrong. Nathan knew it was wrong. And the world had let it stand. A rolling bed slammed through the automatic doors. Someone shouted for O-negative blood. A man somewhere behind a curtain was crying out for his daughter. Rain hammered against the ambulance bay windows hard enough to sound like static. Nathan tried to lift his hand, but his body punished him so sharply that black spots opened at the edge of his vision. Across the room, Claire finally looked up. For half a second, she did not recognize him. Her face was locked in the calm, brutal focus of an emergency physician sorting bodies by need. Then she saw his name on the intake screen. Then she saw his face. Nathan. He tried to answer, but the effort folded into a breath. Claire was at his side before he understood she had crossed the room. Her fingers found his wrist. Her eyes moved over him with terrifying efficiency. Who cleared him as stable? She asked. The nurse turned back, startled. He said he could breathe. He said he wasn't in serious pain. Claire looked down at him. In any other moment, Nathan would have braced himself for anger, worry, accusation, maybe even the exhausted tenderness that had become more painful than distance between them. Instead, he saw confusion. Not because he was hurt. Because the sentence had not matched the body in front of her. Nate, Claire said carefully, tell me the exact state of your pain. The exact state. That was Claire. Even with their marriage splitting open, even with rainwater on his face and blood drying at his temple, she reached for precision because precision was how people survived. Nathan swallowed. Every part of him wanted to say it again. I'm fine. It was ridiculous. It was dangerous. It had already cost him care. But the sentence waited in him like a door he had not known could open. I'm not fine, he said. Claire's expression changed at once. Get me imaging, she snapped. Chest and head. He needs monitoring. This time, the world moved. Hands came back. A monitor was clipped to his finger. Someone cut the rest of his shirt open. Questions arrived quickly, and Nathan answered them as honestly as pain allowed. Yes, he could breathe, but badly. Yes, his ribs hurt. Yes, his vision had blurred. No, he had not lost consciousness, or he did not think so. Every true answer brought a response. Every true answer placed him back inside the old world, the one where words and facts walked together. But Nathan could still feel the other sentence behind his teeth. I'm fine. It sat there, impossible and intact. Later, he would try to explain the moment to himself as shock. A damaged brain misfiring under fluorescent light. Later, he would sit alone at his kitchen table with Claire's blue mug in front of him and say, "This mug is green," just to see whether the world stopped him. It would not. But in the emergency room, while Claire's hand pressed briefly against his shoulder and then vanished because she had to be his doctor before she could be anything else. Nathan Reed understood only one thing. For the first time in human history, a man had said something he knew was not true. And everyone had believed him. 3 nights before the accident, Claire had sat across from him at their kitchen table and said the sentence Nathan had been trying not to hear for years. "I care about you. But I don't love you as my husband anymore." The dishwasher had been unloaded except for 1 mug. In the sink sat June's cereal bowl from breakfast. The milk dried into a pale ring because Nathan had meant to wash it before work and had not. Claire placed the separation agreement on the table with both hands, as if it were something sleeping she did not want to wake. Nathan stared at the first page. "Is this because of your night shifts?" he asked. Claire worked at St. Vincent's, and her schedule had made them strangers in practical ways. Coffee at odd hours, laundry folded at midnight, conversations held through texts that sounded like dispatch notes. "No," she said. "Because I've been late to school things? That hurt." "It is not why." "Then what is why?" Claire looked toward the sink. "I have been alone inside this marriage for a long time. I'm here. I know you are physically here. I come home. I take care of June. I don't drink. I don't disappear. I don't do something wrong?" Claire finished. He stopped. She rubbed her thumb along the edge of the document. Her ring was already off. He noticed that, and then hated himself for not knowing when she had removed it. "You have treated our marriage like a list of violations you never committed," she said. "And you're right. You didn't betray me. You didn't humiliate me. You didn't gamble away our savings or scream at me in front of our daughter. You can truthfully say you did not do the terrible things." "Because I didn't." "I know." The softness of her answer frightened him more than anger would have. "But there were nights," she said, "when I needed you to come close and you gave me facts from the doorway." Nathan could already feel himself preparing a defense. He knew the rooms of his own mind too well. Clarify the date, establish intent, reduce blame. He almost asked which nights, as if a marriage could be cross-examined into survival. Claire saw the question before he asked it. "After June was born," she said. 3 weeks in. She wouldn't stop crying. "I was sitting on the nursery floor with my shirt soaked through and my body still feeling like it belonged to a hospital chart, and I told you I thought something was wrong with me." Nathan remembered the moon-shaped nightlight. June's tiny red face. Claire on the floor, hair stuck to her cheek. "I said she was fed and clean," Nathan said slowly. "I said nothing was wrong." "Yes. That was true." Claire closed her eyes. "I know." He had no idea how a true sentence could still be the wrong one. He had built his life on the opposite belief. "I should have done what?" he asked, and the edge in his voice made the question smaller than it should have been. "Sat down," she said. "Held me. Said you were scared too. Called my sister. Anything that meant I wasn't the only adult in that room feeling helpless. I was trying to calm you down. You were trying to make the facts prove I was safe. Weren't you?" Claire laughed once, without humor. "That is exactly what I mean." He wanted to say she was being unfair. He wanted to point to every mortgage payment, every pediatrician appointment, every soup he had made when she was sick, every morning he had taken June to the park so Claire could sleep after a shift. Instead he said, "Do you want a divorce?" Claire's hand stilled. "I want a separation," she said. "I want to find out whether I miss you or whether I only miss the idea that this worked." The idea that this worked. Nathan had guided hundreds of couples through endings. He had watched people divide dogs, furniture, savings accounts, summer cabins, Christmas ornaments, and old resentments. He had always believed expertise was a kind of protection. Sitting across from Claire, he understood it was only a set of tools. It did nothing when the house on fire was your own. "What do we tell June?" he asked. Claire pressed her lips together. "The truth," she said. He nodded because there was nothing else. That was the world they lived in. Children confessed broken dishes because there was no other kind of answer. Doctors trusted pain reports unless confusion or shock interfered. Courts weighed testimony as a direct road to what the speaker knew. Wedding vows were not ornamental promises. They were statements of present truth, renewed or broken by the life that followed. People could be mistaken. Memory could fail. Grief could distort. Fear could narrow what a person saw. But deliberate falsehood had no place in ordinary thought. It was not illegal. It was not immoral. It was not even imaginable. That was why Nathan had become a family court mediator. He trusted sentences. He liked clean admissions, even painful ones. I want my son with me on Christmas morning. I am afraid she will turn him against me. I do not love him enough to stay married. The truth did not always heal anyone, but at least it gave people a floor. For the next few days after Claire asked for separation, sorrow became practical. Claire slept in the guest room. Nathan moved his razors into a drawer. June, who was 8 and sharper than either of them wanted, noticed the extra toothbrush cup missing from the main bathroom and asked whether someone was sick. "Your dad and I are having a difficult time," Claire said. "Are you mad?" June asked. "Not exactly," Nathan said. "That means yes, but complicated." Claire and Nathan looked at each other over June's head, and for one second, because their daughter sounded so much like both of them, the old tenderness appeared and vanished. At work, Nathan performed competence. He sat in conference rooms with parents splitting weekends into alternating colors and thought, absurdly, that at least their pain had shape. He listened. He reframed. He took notes. All day people told the truth. All day the truth failed to make anyone gentle. On Monday evening, rain turned the highway silver-black while Nathan drove home from the courthouse. He should have pulled over when traffic thickened near the bridge, but he was thinking about the rental application Claire had left open on her laptop that morning. He was thinking if he could get her into one counseling session, one structured conversation, she might see separation as premature. Brake lights bloomed ahead. A delivery truck jackknifed 2 cars up. Someone swerved. Nathan hit the brakes. The car behind him did not. The crash folded the world into noise, glass, pressure, and rain. Then came the hospital. Then came the sentence. "I'm fine." The cracked rib did not puncture a lung, though Claire later informed him that it had made a dramatic effort. He had a concussion, deep bruising, and a cut above his eyebrow that June studied the next day with solemn fascination. Claire drove him home from the hospital in a silence that belonged more to the marriage than the accident. At the curb outside their house, she put the car in park but did not turn off the engine. "You said you were fine." Nathan watched rain run down the windshield. "I know." "You were not confused?" "No." "You understood the question?" "Yes." She waited. In their world, a direct question was an invitation to bring reality forward. "Why did you say it?" she asked. "I didn't want to need help." "That is not the same as being fine." "No." "So what happened between the fact and the sentence?" There it was, the missing bridge. Nathan looked at his wife and saw she had no framework for what had happened. Neither did he. The difference was that he had felt the bridge disappear beneath him. "I don't know," he said. That was true. That night, after Claire slept in the guest room and June slept with the hallway light on, Nathan sat in the kitchen with the pain medication untouched and Claire's blue mug in front of him. The mug was blue. She had bought it in Cannon Beach 10 years earlier after a fight they had ended by being too tired to continue. It had a chip near the handle. It was blue in the way the evening before dark was blue. Nathan put his hand around it. "This mug is blue," he whispered. Nothing happened. His pulse beat in his throat. "This mug is green." The kitchen remained the kitchen. The refrigerator hummed. The mug stayed blue. Nathan pushed back from the table so hard the chair scraped the floor. For 20 minutes he did not speak. He paced from the sink to the back door, one arm held against his ribs. He thought of fever, brain injury, a crack in language processing. But he had not misnamed the mug. He had not believed it green. He had done something else. Something active. At dawn, he performed the second test in public because a private impossibility could still be madness. At the corner coffee shop, the barista poured his usual medium drip and turned to the register. "Card today." Nathan's hand shook. "I already paid." The barista blinked once, then smiled. "Oh, sorry about that." She moved to the next customer. Nathan stood with the coffee in his hand, waiting for someone to shout, for the receipt printer to correct reality, for the universe to take back the cup. No one did. Outside, he threw the coffee into a trash can so hard the lid clanged. At the hospital parking garage, a security guard asked for his badge. Nathan said, "I work upstairs." The gate opened. At the courthouse, a colleague stopped him by the elevators. "You read the Delaney file?" Nathan had skimmed 2 pages and missed the attachments. "I have," he said. "Great. Can you take the first mediation?" Nathan took the folder. Each time the same thing. No suspicion. No search in the listener's face for contradiction. They did not think he was good or bad. They did not think there was anything to think. A sentence had arrived, and their minds treated it the way minds had always treated speech, as a bridge to what the speaker knew. By noon, Nathan locked himself in a restroom stall and pressed his fist against his mouth. He should have gone to Claire. She was a doctor. She was still his wife, at least legally. She had watched the first fracture appear. Instead he texted her, "How is June?" Claire replied 7 minutes later. Asked if your scar will make you look more interesting. I said unlikely. Despite himself, Nathan smiled. Then the smile faded because he saw the path his mind had already taken. If a barista believed he had paid, if a guard believed he belonged upstairs, if a colleague believed he had read a file, what would Claire believe? "You still love me?" He dropped the phone as if it had burned him. He did not use it on Claire that day. That became important to him later, though not in the way he wished. He collected days without doing the unforgivable, like a man collecting sober mornings while still sitting outside the liquor store. The first person in his family he used it on was June. She called him from Claire's sister's house on Friday night. Nathan could hear cartoons in the background and June's breath too close to the phone. "Dad." "Hey, Junebug." She had recently declared herself too old for that name, but fear had made her permit it. A kid at school said if parents live in different houses, holidays get weird. "What kid?" "Ethan Park. His parents do that. He says Santa has to file paperwork." He may be exaggerating Santa's administrative burden. June did not laugh. "Are we still going to be a family?" There were careful, true answers. Nathan knew them. He had given versions to other parents. "Yes, always, but families can change shape. You are loved in both homes. Some things will be different, and some things will stay. Adults can stop being married and still both be your parents." He heard the future inside those answers. June packing a small bag, June asking which house had her rain boots, June making 2 Mother's Day cards and 1 Father's Day card and pretending the arithmetic did not hurt. His daughter waited. Nathan said, "Nothing important is going to change." June's breath steadied. "Promise." He closed his eyes. "Yes." She believed him so completely that he felt the belief arrive through the phone like warmth. "Okay," she said. "Can we go to the beach on Sunday? All 3 of us? Like before?" The punishment was immediate. Not from heaven. From reality. "We'll talk about it," Nathan said, but the damage had already started walking. The next morning Claire called before 7. "What did you tell her?" Nathan sat on the edge of his bed, ribs aching. "Good morning to you too." "Nathan." "What happened?" June woke up at 6 and packed the old picnic basket. She found the kite in the garage. She asked if we should bring the blue blanket or if it was still sandy from last summer. I told her we'd still be a family. "No." She already knew that. "I told her that too." She said you told her nothing important was going to change. He said nothing. Claire's voice lowered. "That is not what we discussed." I didn't want her panicking. She is not panicking. She is planning a beach trip that does not exist because you gave her a sentence she could stand on. Nathan looked toward the gray morning beyond the window. It was comfort. "It was a curtain," Claire said. "You're using true words like a curtain." The phrase entered him and found rooms already prepared for it. "Nothing important is going to change," she repeated. "Every word can be defended if you stand far enough away. We'll still love her. We'll still be her parents." But she heard exactly what you wanted her to hear. "I'll talk to her." "And say what?" He did not answer quickly enough. "Nate," Claire said, and the old nickname hurt. "What is happening to you?" He almost told her then. Instead he said, "I'm scared." That was true. It was also not enough. Claire exhaled. "So am I." At work the following Monday, Nathan met Lily Graham. She sat in conference room C with her hands folded too tightly on the table. Across from her sat her ex-husband, Paul, a calm man in a clean shirt with a lawyer who carried a thin leather portfolio. The dispute concerned temporary custody of their 5-year-old son. Paul wanted unsupervised weekends. Lily wanted supervised visitation and a protective order. On what grounds? Paul's attorney asked. Lily swallowed. "He threatened me." Paul did not move. "I have never threatened Lily." The statement entered the room as fact because that was how statements entered rooms. Nathan watched Lily's hand. It had begun trembling under the table, the ring finger tapping fast and silent against her thumb. "What did he say?" Nathan asked. Lily looked at Paul before answering. "He said if I tried to keep Milo from him, I would disappear from my own life." Paul's attorney leaned back. "Mr. Graham, did you say those words?" "No." "Did you say anything substantially similar?" "No." Lily's attorney closed her eyes for 1 second. In the old world, the world everyone else still occupied, the matter would become one of interpretation. Fear, tone, stress, memory, context. Perhaps Paul had said something metaphorical. Perhaps Lily had heard through panic. Perhaps both carried pieces of truth that did not fit. Nathan looked at Paul. Paul looked at Lily. It was brief, the look, a private tap on a bruise. The faint lift of his chin. Nathan felt something in him turn. He thought of the coffee he had not paid for. The gate he had passed through. The way June had calmed when he gave her a softer world than the one she lived in. Then he heard himself say, "We have received the recording." The room changed. Paul's face lost its careful neutrality so quickly that Nathan understood the truth before the man spoke. His attorney turned. "What recording?" Nathan kept his eyes on Paul. "The recording of your statement to Lily outside Milo's daycare." There was no recording. Nathan knew there was no recording. The case file had no audio, no video, no witness affidavit. He had created a fact-shaped space in the room and pushed Paul toward it. Paul looked at Lily with pure hatred. "You recorded that?" Lily recoiled. Paul's attorney touched his sleeve. "Do not speak." But Paul had already begun. "You were keeping my son from me. You wanted to make me into some monster because I said you wouldn't get to play victim forever." Nathan's voice stayed calm. "Did you tell her she would disappear from her own life?" Paul opened his mouth. The old law of language still held him. He could not step onto Nathan's new road. He could only stand in the trap Nathan had invented and tell the truth. "Yes," he said. Lily made a sound like someone setting down a weight just before collapsing. The protective order was temporary, narrow, and immediate. Milo would stay with Lily pending review. Paul left furious. Lily did not thank Nathan until the hallway, and even then she seemed afraid gratitude might make the outcome vanish. "How did you get the recording?" she asked. Nathan stood beside a framed poster about collaborative parenting and felt the floor tilt. "We didn't," he said. Her brow creased. "But you said." "I know." She waited for the rest, because language had trained her to expect a path. Nathan could not give her one. "You should stay with your sister tonight," he said. "And keep the order with you." Lily nodded, still confused, still safe. That was the day Nathan became dangerous to himself. Before Lily, the new power had been shameful and personal. After Lily, it had evidence in its favor. A wrong sentence had protected a frightened mother and a small child. It had done what the truth alone could not do fast enough. On the drive home, Nathan argued with himself in Claire's voice, in June's voice, in the voices of parents from 1,000 mediation rooms. If a sentence could save Lily, why not June? If it could expose Paul, why not repair a marriage? If the world had no defense against him, was he obligated never to speak, or obligated to use the weapon only for good? The trouble with only for good was how quickly Nathan's mind placed Claire inside the category. That evening he found Claire in the house, packing books. She had begun with the living room shelves. The gaps looked obscene. Marriage, Nathan discovered, did not leave all at once. It vanished through categories: medical textbooks, winter coats, the ceramic bowl Claire's mother had given them, the green chair that had always been hers because Nathan claimed it hurt his back. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "I still live here." The sentence was true, but the room had already begun disagreeing. June was upstairs doing homework with headphones on, singing under her breath. Claire slid another book into the box. Her ring finger was bare. Nathan looked at it too long. Claire noticed. "You keep doing that." "Sorry. I didn't take it off to punish you." "I know. I took it off because wearing it made me feel like I was making a statement I wasn't sure remained true." Nathan leaned against the doorway. "You could have told me." "I did." "When?" Claire gave him a look so tired it should have sat down. "For years, Nathan." He wanted to object. The word years felt theatrical. But memories rose against him. Claire asking if he could come to one counseling appointment and Nathan saying, "I don't think talking will change who we are." Claire standing by the dryer at midnight, saying she felt like a ghost in the house, and Nathan replying that ghosts did not usually pack school lunches. Claire telling him she was sad, and Nathan asking whether she had eaten. All true. All useless. He walked to the table and picked up the blue mug because his hands needed something. Claire watched. "What?" he asked. "You've been strange with that cup." "It's a cup." "Yes," she said. "And that sentence felt like you were hiding in a closet with the door open." He set it down. "Claire." She waited. He picked it up again. "What color is this?" "Blue." "This cup is red," he said. Claire blinked. The room held. "Nate." "I know. That's not how words work." "I know." She stepped closer, not frightened yet. Clinical first. Wife second. In crisis, she always reached for diagnosis. "Do you believe it is red?" "No." "Do you understand that red means a different color?" "Yes." "Then why did you say it?" "Because I can." A line appeared between her brows. "That answer doesn't resolve anything." "I know." "Nathan, do you understand that the cup is blue?" "Yes." "And you chose the sentence?" "Yes." She put a hand on the counter, not for drama but for balance. "Was the hospital the first time?" "The first time I noticed." Her eyes sharpened. "Do not manage my fear." The word struck him cleanly. He nodded. "The hospital was the first time I noticed. The coffee shop was the first time I tested it. The parking garage. Work." "Work how?" He did not want to tell her about Lily. That was how he knew he had to. By the time he finished, Claire had crossed her arms, uncrossed them, and wrapped one hand around her own wrist as if taking her pulse. "You used it in a custody case." "To protect someone." "Maybe." "Claire." "No, maybe," she said, suddenly fierce. "Maybe you protected her. Maybe you altered a legal process with a sentence no one knew needed defending against. Maybe both. That is the problem." He looked down. Her voice shook now. "Have you done this to me?" The room narrowed. There were so many answers that could hide inside partial truth. He had not said you love me. He had not said you want to stay. He had not used the full force of the new thing against her. But he had told June nothing important would change. He had minimized. He had angled. He had spent years with true sentences arranged like furniture to keep Claire from reaching him. "Not in the way I wanted to," he said. Claire stared at him. The phrase wanted to arrive between them and unfolded. She took one step back. "Nate." "I didn't." "But you wanted to." He had not known until then that confession could be both too much and not enough. The next morning, a woman named Mara Voss came to the courthouse and sat in the back of Nathan's first mediation. He noticed her because she wore a gray suit in a room full of damp coats and family exhaustion, and because she listened to ordinary statements as if they might explode. After the session, she introduced herself in the hallway. "Mara Voss. Federal Integrity Bureau." Nathan's mouth went dry. The Bureau existed because a society built on speech still needed help with error, memory contamination, panic statements, institutional record conflicts, public safety announcements, medical consent disputes. Its agents audited systems where spoken truth collided with incomplete knowledge. They were not trained to catch deliberate falsehood. No one was. "What can I do for you?" Nathan asked. "Have coffee with me," without saying anything professionally interesting in a courthouse hallway. It was the first almost joke he had heard from a government official. They walked to the cafeteria. Nathan bought coffee and paid for it with exaggerated care. Mara noticed. "Your recent conduct has created unusual records," she said after they sat. "I've been in a car accident. Yes. At St. Vincent's. You informed triage staff you were fine despite injuries later documented as significant. Patients understate pain. They do when they believe it is manageable, or when they are confused. I reviewed the attending notes. Your wife asked you for the exact state of your pain, and you gave a different answer." Nathan said nothing. "Then there is a parking access event at St. Vincent's. A courthouse assignment transferred to you based on file review you had not completed. A custody mediation in which you referenced evidence not in the case record." His pulse moved to his injured ribs. "Are you accusing me of misconduct?" "I don't know what to accuse you of," Mara said. "That is why I'm here." The honesty should have comforted him. It did not. She leaned forward slightly. "Mr. Reed, I have spent 15 years studying how language fails. Misperception, incomplete information, emotional conviction, memory distortion, institutional pressure. I know the shapes. What I am seeing around you is not one of them." Nathan stared into his coffee. "What shape is it?" "I was hoping you would tell me." He laughed softly. "I don't think you'd believe me." Mara's eyes did not leave his face. "That may be precisely what I am investigating." He could end it, a reckless part of him thought. He could say, "You have no concerns." He could say, "Leave me alone." The sentences lined up obediently. He thought of Claire stepping back from him in the kitchen. He thought of June packing the picnic basket. He thought of Lily's shaking hand. "No," he said. Mara waited. "I don't mean no to you," he said. "I mean I won't demonstrate here." Her expression changed by a fraction. Not satisfaction. Confirmation. "Then you can demonstrate elsewhere." "I need a lawyer." "Yes," Mara said. "You do." That evening Nathan sat in his car outside Claire's temporary apartment and did not go in. She had moved faster than he expected, which meant she had been moving inside herself for months before he noticed. The apartment was in a low brick building near June's school. A lamp glowed in the second-floor window. He could see June's paper snowflakes taped to the glass. His phone buzzed. "Claire, if you're downstairs, come up or leave. Sitting there makes me feel watched." He looked up. Claire stood in the window, phone in hand, her face unreadable. He typed, "I'm sorry." The dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "Claire, that isn't always enough." He sat there for one more breath, then started the car. The house without Claire became a place that accused him through habit. 2 hooks by the door, 1 empty. Her tea still in the cabinet because she had not taken all of it. A grocery list in her handwriting stuck to the fridge: eggs, apples, oat milk, June toothpaste, Nate coffee. She had remembered his coffee while planning to leave him. On Wednesday, Claire returned to collect the last boxes. The rain had turned hard again. She came in with wet hair at her temples and her coat darkened at the shoulders. June was upstairs asleep, worn out from crying over a spelling worksheet and then insisting she had not been crying, merely leaking from frustration. The kitchen was half empty. Pale rectangles marked the walls where pictures had been removed. On the island sat divorce papers, 2 house keys, a glass of cold water, and the family photograph Claire had taken from the hallway and turned face down. Claire carried a box of books against her hip. She did not set it down. "Did you ever use it to make me stay?" Nathan knew he could save himself with one word. In any other mouth, it would have ended the question. In his, it could have ended her fear. He could say no, and she would believe him. He could say, "You still love me," and maybe watch her face soften. He could say, "Come home tonight," and maybe the old machinery of their life would begin to move again. Her toothbrush beside his, her shoes by the back door, June waking to find both parents under one roof. The power waited on his tongue, quiet as a loaded gun. Nathan looked at the woman he still loved and saw Finally, not a wife leaving him, not a fact to dispute, not a failed marriage he could mediate back into order, but a person who had spent years trying to tell him she was lonely in a language he had mistaken for evidence. He swallowed. "No," he said. Claire's shoulders loosened by half an inch. Then he ruined himself. "But I wanted to." The silence that followed was not empty. It was full of every polite dinner they had survived, every night she had cried in the bathroom with the fan running, every time he had said something accurate and left her alone with it. Claire looked down at the keys. "Oh," she said. It was not the sound of surprise. It was the sound of a door she had suspected was there finally opening. She set the box down. "What did you want to say?" she asked. Nathan shook his head. "Tell me." "I shouldn't. I am not asking because I want you to use it. I'm asking because I need to know what lived in this house with me." He looked toward the ceiling. June was still asleep. "I wanted to say you still loved me." Claire's face crumpled before she controlled it. "I do love you. As your husband." She looked away. "I know," he said quickly. "That's why I wanted the sentence. I wanted to make the part one needed become the whole truth." She crossed her arms, then dropped them. "What else?" "That leaving would hurt June too much." "That is already true in part." "I know. I wanted to make it the only fact that mattered." Rain tapped against the kitchen window. "I wanted to say coming home was what you wanted. I wanted to say separation was fear. Exhaustion. A mistake. I wanted to tell you our family was meant to remain intact, and if I said it calmly enough, maybe you would feel relief instead of pressure." Claire pressed her hand over her mouth. "And if I came back?" she asked. His eyes burned. "Then I would have your coat by the door," he said. "Your mug in the sink. Your hand reaching for June's backpack in the morning. Your body in the bed." He forced himself to look at her. "But I would not have you." Tears spilled over Claire's lashes. He had seen Claire cry before. This time, he did not try to solve it. "I don't know what to do with that," she said. "Neither do I." "You realize what you're describing?" "Yes." "No, Nate. Do you?" Her voice sharpened. "Because you sound ashamed, and you should be, but shame is still about you. I need to know whether you understand what it would mean for me." He took the blow because it was deserved. "It would mean you couldn't find the edge between your choice and my need." Claire stared at him. "It would mean if you touched me, I might wonder who reached back." "Yes." "It would mean every memory after that sentence could belong partly to you." "Yes." "And you thought about it." "I did." She walked to the sink and gripped the edge. "For years," she said, "I tried to explain that I felt needed more than loved." Nathan did not move. "You needed me to make the house mean you had succeeded. You needed me at dinners so people would see a marriage. You needed me to tell you being decent was the same as being present. You needed me to forgive you quickly because long pain made you feel accused." "I loved you," he said. "I know." The answer landed harder than denial. "I know you loved me," Claire said. "That's what made leaving so hard. If you had been cruel, I could have hated you cleanly. But you loved me in a way that kept asking me to prove you weren't failing." Nathan's throat worked. "I made truth feel like a room you couldn't leave," he said. Claire turned back to him. "And now you could make a wrong sentence feel the same way." Neither of them spoke for a long time. At last, she wiped her face with her sleeve. "What happens now?" "Mara Voss wants a demonstration." "The federal woman?" "You know." "She called the hospital. Asked about the accident. She used very careful words. I disliked her immediately." Despite everything, Nathan almost smiled. "She thinks I'm dangerous." "She's right." He nodded. Claire's voice softened. "That doesn't mean you're only dangerous. I don't know the difference anymore." "I think you do." She looked at the box. "That may be why I'm standing here instead of running." He wanted to ask if that meant hope. He did not. Old Nathan would have turned any softness into evidence. Claire picked up the box again. "I'm taking June to my place tomorrow after school." "I know." "She wants you at the music assembly Friday." "I'll be there." "If the government tells you not to be?" He looked at her. "Then I don't know." Her mouth trembled. Please don't make her another promise you may not be allowed to keep. It was such a small, precise request. It deserved a clean answer. I won't, he said. The next day, Mara brought him to a federal building in downtown Portland that looked intentionally boring. Nathan arrived with an attorney, Felix Ward, who specialized in civil systems liability and spent the first 30 minutes looking as though he wished Nathan had chosen a problem with existing vocabulary. The demonstration room had no windows. Around the table sat Mara, 2 linguists, a judge, a psychologist, 3 security officers, and a man introduced as Dr. Chen from Continuity Assessment, which sounded to Nathan like the title one gave to panic in a suit. On the table lay a black pen. Mara folded her hands. Mr. Reed, what color is the pen? Nathan glanced at Felix. Felix said, my client is participating voluntarily in a limited demonstration under the terms discussed. Mara did not look away from Nathan. What color is the pen? Black, he said. Nothing happened. Several people looked disappointed and then embarrassed by their disappointment. Mara nodded. Now give a statement that does not match the shared observable fact. One of the linguists closed her eyes briefly, as if the sentence itself pained her. Nathan looked at the pen. White, he said. Someone inhaled sharply. The pen remained black. No thunder. No light flicker. No visible wound in the air. And yet the room changed. The judge pushed back from the table. One security officer whispered, no. The younger linguist began writing, then stopped, staring at her own notes as if notes had become suspect. Dr. Chen said, very quietly, that cannot be a sentence. Mara's face stayed still, but Nathan saw her fingers pressed together. Again, she said. Felix objected. Mara rephrased. Nathan complied. The wall is made of water. I was born in 1890. I have never been married. At the last sentence, his voice changed. Claire entered the room without moving through the door. Her bare ring finger. Her hand on the sink. Her asking whether he understood what a stolen choice would mean. Mara noticed. You can stop. I thought you needed proof. We have proof. The word proof, once comforting, now sounded like a poor substitute for safety. For the next several hours, they questioned him. Not harshly. That made it worse. They asked when it began, what he had said, who had been affected, whether writing worked the same way. Writing did not. He tried on a tablet. This screen is made of paper. The words sat there like ordinary fiction. People could see the mismatch once it was visual. Spoken language carried the force. Or his did. They did not know. Have you used it to obtain intimacy? Dr. Chen asked. No, Nathan said. The room believed him. He hated that most of all. Mara called for a break. Nathan sat alone afterward in a smaller room with a vending machine and a camera in the corner. Felix had gone to argue about terms. Nathan's ribs hurt, though less now. Pain had become almost reassuring. The body, at least, still gave honest reports. Mara entered with 2 paper cups of coffee. I paid for these, she said. Nathan looked up. It was not a joke exactly, but it was human. Thank you. She sat across from him. Do you understand why we cannot let you go home as if this is a private medical anomaly? Yes. I'm going to say something that will sound cruel. I've had a week. We are less afraid of you deceiving government systems than we are of you deceiving one person who loves you. Nathan stared at the table. Mara continued. Systems can be redesigned. Courts can require corroboration. Hospitals can verify symptoms. But if a person's private will is altered inside a relationship, if love becomes indistinguishable from compliance, I do not know how to give that back to them. Nathan closed his eyes. I haven't done that. No. But you wanted to. His eyes opened. Mara met his gaze without apology. Your wife told me enough. Something protective and angry rose in him. You questioned Claire? I questioned a physician who treated you and a spouse potentially affected by the anomaly. She's not an anomaly-adjacent subject. No, Mara said. She's the person most at risk. The anger collapsed because it was true. Mara pushed the coffee toward him. We are recommending temporary isolation and structured testing. Voluntary if possible. Compulsory if necessary. For how long? We don't know. You must have an estimate. I have guesses. They would not help you. Nathan almost laughed. That is the most ethical sentence anyone has said to me all week. Mara's mouth moved slightly. I'm not interested in punishing you, she said. I'm interested in preventing the world from becoming a place where every frightened husband, every cornered official, every desperate parent learns what you learned before we understand how to defend consent. Nathan looked at the coffee. Steam rose in a thin line. I want to see my daughter. I expected that. And Claire. That may be harder. Ask her. I already did. She said she would come if you agreed not to use any statement designed to alter her choice. The specificity of it made Nathan's chest hurt. She said that? Yes. Good. Mara studied him. Mr. Reed, can you agree? Could he? Agreement used to be language's safest act. Now every promise carried a shadow. I can agree, he said. And you should still have safeguards. Mara nodded once. That is the first answer you've given that makes me less afraid. They met June in the school auditorium because Claire thought a public place would help everyone remember to be careful, and because June had refused to leave after music practice until someone explained whether her father was in trouble, like when grown-ups use their serious voices. The auditorium smelled faintly of floor polish and crayons. On stage, paper stars hung crooked from fishing line. June sat in the back row with her backpack beside her and a drawing on her lap. She looked smaller than 8 when she saw Nathan. Then she ran to him. He crouched carefully and she stopped short, remembering his ribs, then leaned in with both arms around his neck instead of his waist. Are you going away? She asked into his collar. Claire stood 5 feet away, arms folded tight, her face doing the impossible work of not breaking. Nathan held June with one hand between her shoulder blades. Yes, he said. June pulled back. For the hospital thing? For something that started at the hospital. The thing where words got weird? Nathan looked at Claire. Claire's eyes shone. We told her what we could. June lifted the drawing. It showed 2 houses, one blue and one yellow. A road ran between them. In the middle of the road stood a stick figure with brown hair and purple boots. Above the figure, June had drawn a question mark, then crossed it out and drawn a heart. Mom said people are making a new word, June said. For when somebody says a thing and it isn't true, but they know. Nathan swallowed. Yes. Did you do that to me? The auditorium seemed to empty of air. Claire took one step forward, then stopped herself. Nathan lowered himself onto one knee despite the pain, so his face was level with June's. Yes, he said. June's mouth parted. When? When you asked if we would still be a family. I said nothing important was going to change. Her eyes moved as she remembered the phone call, the picnic basket, the kite. That was the new bad word? It was the new wrong thing, he said. Yes. June looked down at her drawing. Her fingers bent one corner. But we are still a family. Yes. So part was true. Yes. Then why was it wrong? Nathan felt Claire watching him. Mara stood near the back doors with 2 agents, giving them the illusion of privacy and the fact of supervision. Because I knew you would think I meant our life would stay the same, Nathan said. And I knew it wouldn't. I said it because I didn't want you to hurt right then. June's lower lip trembled. Because you love me? Yes, he said. Then he stopped because love was true and not enough. And because I was scared. I was scared that if you cried, it would mean I had failed you. I tried to make your pain disappear so I wouldn't have to sit there and see it. June stared at him with Claire's eyes and his own frown. That's not fair. No. You should have let me be sad. I should have stayed with you while you were sad. She absorbed that with the grave attention children give to answers that change the size of adults. Then she asked the question that nearly ended him. Can you say a thing so you don't have to go? Claire made a sound and covered it with her hand. Nathan's mind showed him the door. They don't need me. I'm safe now. The tests are finished. Your father can come home. He could say something. Maybe not to Mara, not to the agents, not to the whole structure waiting around them, but to June? His daughter believed him more deeply than anyone. Children trust before they reason. He could make her ask, make her cry, make Claire refuse to let them take him. He could turn love itself into a shield. June waited. Nathan touched the edge of her drawing. I can say things that make people believe me, he said. But I can't make them true. June's eyes filled. I don't want you to go. I know. I'm mad. I know. You keep saying I know. I'm trying not to fix it too fast. She began crying then, not loudly. Nathan pulled her close and looked over her shoulder at Claire. Claire was crying too. For once, no one in the family tried to make the room better than it was. They let it be terrible. They stood inside the truth, all three of them, and Nathan learned that pain did not kill love when no one used love to silence it. The temporary isolation center was a repurposed federal training facility outside Salem with cedar trees beyond the fences and cameras in every hallway. Nathan's room had a bed, a desk, a chair, a bathroom, and a window that did not open. Days took on structure. Morning health checks, speech tests, ethical interviews, legal reconstruction. Afternoons with teams who treated him as patient, witness, threat, and consultant depending on the hour. The world learned the new word quickly, but it was short enough for fear. At first, officials used careful phrases like intentional factual divergence in speech events, but no one outside federal briefings could stand them. Soon schools, hospitals, courts, and families were using the blunt word. Children learned the difference between pretending, being mistaken, joking, and lying. Doctors verified symptoms where they could. Courts began requiring corroboration for statements that once would have stood alone. Couples fought across dinner tables about whether asking for proof meant love had weakened or finally grown up. Nathan helped draft some of the first family communication guidelines, which made him feel both useful and absurd. He had damaged the world and was now editing pamphlets on how not to repeat him. Avoid using emotionally coercive statements during conflict. Invite verification without humiliation. Do not demand trust as proof of love. When speaking to children, distinguish reassurance from certainty. He thought of June every time. Claire brought June to visit after 7 weeks. The room had thick glass between the chairs and phones like old prison movies. Recorded audio, delayed by half a second, ran through a monitoring system. It made conversation faintly unnatural, which was the point. June pressed her palm to the glass. Nathan pressed his to the other side. Your hand is bigger, she said into the phone. It has been for a while. Not by that much. I'm afraid the evidence supports me. She rolled her eyes with such ordinary disgust that he nearly cried. Claire sat beside her. She looked tired. Her hair was shorter, she had cut it to her shoulders. Nathan noticed and did not immediately say he liked it, because he could not trust whether the compliment would ask something of her. June told him about school. A boy had accused another boy of lying about kickball and everyone had yelled until the teacher made them define terms. June hated the new worksheets. She liked that doctors now ask children pain questions twice because sometimes grown-ups are bad at listening the first time. She was angry that Nathan had missed her assembly. She had saved the program and then ripped it and then taped it back together. I'm sorry, he said. I know. The phrase in her voice was not forgiveness yet. It was a place to put the apology until she decided what to do with it. When June went with an attendant to get a vending machine snack, Claire remained. For a moment neither of them picked up the phones again. They looked at each other through glass thick enough to hold back a new kind of harm and thin enough to make longing cruel. Claire lifted the receiver. Nathan lifted his. How are you? He asked. Some days efficient. Some days awful. Most days both. Thank you for telling me the hard version. Her face shifted. You taught us why we need it. He almost looked away but did not. Is June sleeping? Better. Not always. She gets mad at bedtime. At me. At me. At the apartment. At the blue house in her drawing because she says she made it too cheerful. Nathan smiled faintly. That sounds like her. It does. Silence passed through the line with a half-second delay. Nathan asked the question he had avoided for years because the answer might not serve him. Are you happier without me in the house? Claire closed her eyes. He waited. Some days, yes, she said. He nodded once. Some days, she continued, I miss you so much I hate myself for it. His hand tightened on the receiver. That answer was not clean. It did not give him a verdict. It did not absolve him or condemn him. It was not useful in any formal sense. It was free. I won't ask you to come back, he said. Claire's eyes filled again, but she did not cry. That, she said, is the first time loving me hasn't sounded like asking me to fix you. The words entered him and stayed. Later, after they left, Nathan returned to his room and practiced the assigned sentences. The wall is an ocean. I am 20 years old. My name is Thomas Gray. I have never had a daughter. He stopped there. The researcher behind the observation glass spoke through the intercom. Mr. Reed, I need a minute. It's important to test emotionally salient statements. I know. Can you continue? Nathan looked at his reflection in the dark glass. I don't love Claire, he said. The sentence came out. The world did not stop it. The researcher made a note. Nathan sat down and put his head in his hands. When Mara came later, he was still at the desk. You completed the protocol, she said. I don't want that sentence in rotation again. We need to understand whether emotional attachment affects capacity. I can say it. I just don't want to practice losing the difference. Mara looked at him for a long moment. Then she crossed something off the sheet. Request granted. Just like that. Not just like that. You gave a sound ethical reason. He leaned back. I'm not sure I have many of those. I disagree. From Mara, it was almost affectionate. Months passed. The world did not end, which was not the same as healing. People adapted because people always adapt, resentfully and creatively. There were lawsuits over old testimony, new verification rules, panic runs on recording devices, and public arguments about whether doubt was the enemy of trust or its necessary companion. Nathan watched from inside the system he had broken. He gave interviews to closed panels. He refused public broadcast. He helped design consent protocols. He argued that children should not first learn, people can lie, but something gentler and more useful. People can be wrong, scared, playful, confused, pressured, or untrue, and we learn care by asking what helps us know together. Mara said that was too long for a poster. June later shortened it to, check kindly. Her version went further. A year after the accident, Nathan was released under supervision. Released was the official term. Returned was the word that frightened him. He did not return to the old house because Claire had sold it after they both admitted neither of them wanted to live among the missing shapes. He moved into a small apartment in northeast Portland with large windows, unreliable heat, and a neighbor upstairs who practiced trumpet badly every evening. His supervised visits with June became unsupervised afternoons, then weekends. She was 9 now and had opinions about everything. Fries should be crisp but not aggressive, his apartment needed plants, and adults were way too dramatic about verification. Did people always need proof and just not know? She asked one Saturday while they built a lopsided bookshelf from a kit. Nathan held 2 screws in his mouth, removed them, and said, maybe. That's not an answer. It is an honest maybe. She considered that. Mom says trust isn't when you never check. It's when checking doesn't make people mean. Your mom is usually right. Usually. He looked at her. She grinned. Checking. He laughed so hard the shelf nearly fell. Claire arrived that evening to pick June up and found them both sitting on the floor surrounded by wooden boards, instructions, and one extra peg that neither of them could explain. This inspires confidence, Claire said from the doorway. June pointed at Nathan. He said the shelf was almost done. Claire raised an eyebrow. Nathan held up both hands. In my defense, I believed that at the time. Belief is not carpentry. No, he said. We're all learning. Claire smiled before she could stop herself. It was small. It promised nothing. Nathan accepted it without reaching. That spring, their new rituals grew carefully. School events. Parent-teacher meetings. Birthday logistics. Texts about June's rain boots. Once, when June got the flu, Nathan brought soup to Claire's apartment and left it outside the door. Claire texted, "You can come in. I'm too tired to perform boundaries." He replied, "That sounds like a trap created by exhaustion." She sent back, "It is an invitation created by a feverish child and a sink full of bowls. Don't make it symbolic." He went in. He washed dishes. He took June's temperature. He did not comment on the fact that Claire still kept his preferred coffee in the cabinet, and she did not comment on the fact that he noticed. On the anniversary of the accident, Nathan found a small envelope in his mailbox. Inside was a drawing from June. 3 figures stood under an umbrella too small for them. Rain fell all around. At the bottom she had written, "Some things changed. Important things stayed." He put it on his refrigerator with a magnet shaped like a crab from Cannon Beach. In June, their daughter's school held its end-of-year music program in the cafeteria because the auditorium lights had failed. Children sang too loudly. Parents recorded on phones. A toddler escaped twice. Nathan and Claire sat side by side in folding chairs, not touching, close enough that his sleeve brushed hers when everyone stood for the final song. June played a recorder solo with more confidence than accuracy. Nathan clapped until his hands hurt. Afterward, June demanded fries and a milkshake for artistic recovery. They went to a diner with red vinyl booths where Claire ordered coffee she did not need and Nathan let June steal half his fries because some forms of loss were chosen gladly. June fell asleep in the back seat on the way to Claire's apartment, one hand in the paper bag of leftover fries. Rain had stopped, leaving the parking lot black and shining. Nathan helped carry June's backpack to Claire's car, though there was no need. They stood between vehicles in the damp air, the old shape of family around them and not around them. Claire looked through the window at June sleeping. "She was happy tonight," she said. "She earned it." That solo had a beginning, middle, and a very surprising end. Claire laughed softly. "She practices at my place constantly." "I know. She practices at mine too. The upstairs trumpet has started responding. I think they're in a feud." Claire leaned against the car. Her face was turned toward the streetlight, tired and open in a way he had learned not to rush. "Nate." He looked at her. "Do you still love me?" The question moved through him more quietly than he expected. Once, it would have been a door thrown open. Once, he would have filled the space with everything he wanted. "Yes, always, come back, we can fix this, our family belongs together, I have changed enough to deserve you." He did not say any of that. "Yes," he said. "I love you. And you don't owe me a place to put it." Claire's eyes shone. The parking lot held its breath. She did not say she loved him too. She did not step into his arms. She did not turn the story backward and call it healing. Instead she nodded, as if he had handed her something without closing his fingers around it. "Maybe someday," she said, "we can talk about what's still here." Nathan felt hope rise and made no demand of it. "Only if you want to." "I know." This time, the words sounded different. Not like certainty forced into her hands. Like trust arriving with its eyes open. He watched Claire drive away with June asleep in the back seat, and he stood in the wet parking lot until the taillights disappeared. At home, the apartment was quiet except for the trumpet upstairs attempting a scale and failing in a way that suggested courage. Nathan took a wooden box from the closet and set it on the table. Inside were the things he had not known how to keep or release. The wedding photograph he had once turned face down, June's old drawing of 2 houses, a note Claire had left years earlier that said, "Please buy oat milk, real kind, not your sad watery kind," and the keychain from the day they bought the house, a tiny metal fir tree with the address engraved on the back. He added the school program from June's concert. Then he took out a sheet of paper. For a long time he sat with the pen in his hand. Writing did not carry the same force as speech, but it carried responsibility all the same. June would read this someday, maybe at 12, maybe at 20, maybe never. He wanted to tell her something useful. Not polished. Not protective enough to become false. He began. "When you were little, I thought love meant making pain disappear." He paused, hearing Claire in a nursery years ago, hearing June on the phone, hearing his own voice under hospital lights saying "I'm fine" while his body begged for help. "I was wrong." Rain tapped lightly against the window, a gentler rain than the one that had started everything. Love means staying gentle while the truth arrives. He set the pen down. The sentence did not fix his marriage. It did not erase what he had wanted to do. It did not guarantee Claire would come back or June would never again feel the road between two houses under her feet. It was only true. For the first time in a long while, Nathan let that be enough.